Hi there again. What was that? Well, I guess it was nothing because it really was nothing. There is nothing there, trust me. The rabbit playing the drums, that's all meaningless. And I'm talking about Caveat. Caveat starts out with a girl named Olga walking around the house holding a rabbit that's playing the drums. And I'm gonna be honest, I find that toy very cute. I'd love one. But we're given no context whatsoever. Why does it play the drums? Is it excited to be carried around the house? Is there some dark energy? Probably the second one since it's a horror movie, but we don't know for sure. She ends up going to the basement and cuts out a hole through a cardboard-like wall. She sees something, but seems pretty chill about it, so it can't be that bad. Then we cut to a guy with a majestic beard knocking on the door, and I mean a really majestic beard. Look at that. Wow. Anyway, the Uncle Mo is looking for someone to take care of his niece, sort of. Not really take care of, just stay in the same house with, that's it. There's a catch though, but as with any job, they only tell you once you're already committed and can't back out anymore. Here is the catch of this video. It's too late, you already started watching, so subscribe would mean a lot to me. Also, if you can like the video, that's pretty amazing too. Thank you so much. So this dude, Isaac, he's got partial memory loss, and he probably found this job on Craigslist, which explains his memory loss, because no one in their right mind takes jobs like these anymore. I hope, at least. At first, the uncle drives him to a lake, and it's such a long drive that Isaac falls asleep en route. Once again, I get that you have a cool beard, so you feel safe behind it, but you can't fall asleep like that, man. You don't even know the guy. They arrive and he's like, what happened? And Mo just silently stares him down and slowly exits the car without saying a word. And that's usually code for, I'm about to shoot you and throw your body in the lake. But as it turns out, Olga lives on an island. Isaac, instead of turning around and making a run for it, which is usually the human response to something like that, you know, when your employer says, last second, we're gonna sail to the job, he gets on the boat, and they soon arrive to this very damaged, rusty-looking house, which probably hasn't been cleaned since it was built, honestly. Now Mo, while showing him the house, talks about how foxes scream like young girls, and even indicates to Isaac that he knows how young girls scream. And it becomes clear that, yep, the uncle is a weirdo. While Isaac is probably already thinking about all the things he's gonna write on his Reddit Let's Not Meet post, you know, where people talk about bizarre experiences with other people, here comes a twist. Not for the viewer, but for Isaac. He needs to wear a harness with a chain so that he can't reach Olga's room. Because that's the only way the girl would feel safe, apparently. At this point, you might be wondering why Isaac still hasn't run out of the house, grabbed the boat, and noped the out of there. To which I'd say, well, you see, because then the movie would end. That's it. That's the only explicable explanation. There's literally nothing else. Quite a stretch in my opinion, but whatever. He's walking around the house and realizes, well, he's not allowed to take a shit either. Which makes sense if you think about it, because if the girl needs to go to the bathroom, she wouldn't feel safe if the chain could reach there. He finds a dog in the backyard, and I'll be honest, man, I love dogs, but for some reason, this dog just freaked me out. Like, was it just me, or does it have like an uncanny face? Almost a human-like face. Like, the eyes just look so strange. I don't know. Anyway, he feeds the dog and sits there staring at a photo of him and some dude. We will later find out that that's his brother Mike, that will have absolutely no resemblance to the movie in any shape or form. The photo is basically meaningless, just a prop, something for him to look at so that he has something to look at, while an unknown presence basically approaches him from behind. I mean, I think it's an unknown presence because the camera keeps panning on the chains and the dog starts acting funny, but then nothing really happens. The light goes off and the chain just floats a little, and I mean, that could have easily been Olga. Isaac almost falls off his chair and he realizes the light is off. And he calmly freaks out. Yeah, calmly. He doesn't seem really weirded out by anything so far, even though he should have, in my opinion. Then we hear some super weird noises from the intercom, like a really messed up sound. The kind of sound that if you heard it, you'd be like, nope, not worth the $200. I'll just work at McDonald's for minimum wage instead. But again, Isaac is cool with it, and he goes, hello? He then goes upstairs, and Olga still sits there with her hands covering her eyes. Isaac turns to leave, but then the rabbit starts playing the drums to mess with him. And it does that like 2 times, like right as he turns to leave again, the rabbit just plays the drums again. I would say W rabbit, because that's pretty funny. Then Isaac decides, all right, you know what, I'm done. And he goes to bed. His room is super cozy, except for the painting on the wall of a girl holding some rabbit mask. Right as he's about to fall asleep, the painting falls. So he looks at it, and the painting looks back. And he looks some more, and the painting... You get what I mean. After several scenes of the painting stare down, he realizes he can't win the no blinking game since this is a painting. And he decides to just flip it. A bit of a sore loser, I would say. And then he goes back to sleep. And when he turns to look, the painting has flipped itself back magically. Which is like super random, because is that a ghost messing with him? An evil spirit? What's going on? We don't know. We will never know, basically. But yeah, anyway, he flips it again, right? And this time, he stares it down so it won't flip again. Which for some reason works and made me inexplicably angry. So what, you're telling me that scary things only happen when we're not looking? How original. Whoa. Was there something there? I don't know, I just felt like there was something there. Then he's dreaming that the girl in the painting has her eyes wide open and is whispering strange things, which I'll admit was super creepy. I even expected Olga in real life just whispering things to his ear when he wakes up, but nope, he just calmly wakes up. Honestly, a bit too calm for my taste. I swear I wake up more scared than him in my pretty normal dreams. But okay, beard things, I guess. And I don't want to be that guy, but does this painting look AI to you too? I don't want to say it, but it looks insanely AI generated. Especially the facial structure and the eyes, like the big eyes. That's kind of AI. Man, I hope it wasn't AI, but it could be. I'm not kidding. Anyway, Isaac, goes back to walking around the house. 2 hours of sleep is all he needs, apparently, and finds the rabbit in the furnace. Turns out he couldn't sleep because it was cold. Well, Isaac, maybe you should have gone under the sheets, my guy. Ever thought of that? I guess his brain damage made him forget how to use sheets too, which sucks. That's horrible. What really bothered me was, why was the rabbit in the furnace? What's the significance? Like, it keeps appearing here and there, plays the drums every now and then, and yet the object is just there to build suspense that never pays off. Anyway, we hear faint screams in the distance, and Olga enters the room and says it's just foxes. Really, Olga? Was it foxes on the intercom too? Want to explain what that was all about? Nope, but she's got a crossbow with her, and I doubt she's a fan of The Walking Dead. Naturally, Isaac looks kind of freaked out, but also he's totally fine with Olga pointing the weapon straight at him. And the two start talking, and we find out that the furnace was blocked by Olga's mom because she found birds living in the chimney. And I thought, wow, what a nice lady. But then Olga gives us too much information, TMI Olga, and tells the story of her mother psychologically torturing her father, who was claustrophobic, put a chain harness on him, and swallowing the key with a smile on her face. That's like super creepy. And I was like, okay, nope, not a nice lady. Not at all. When Isaac asks about her father and uncle, whether they were close, she immediately pulls out a photo out of her pocket. Now, remember that Isaac also keeps pulling out a photo from his pocket, like all the time, when he's about to go sleep, when he was sitting next to the dog. So my question is, what's up with pulling photos out of their pockets, and why are these two so good at it? I'll be honest, while I love the ambience of the movie so far, it's been more depressing than scary. It almost feels like it's always trying to build towards something, and then nothing happens. But maybe later something will happen? Then we see Isaac deciding to take a nap on the chair. It's clear that he still doesn't know what to do with the sheets or how to use a bed, so it's fine. He chooses to sleep on the chair. It's something that he's done countless times. It makes sense. But the rabbit is there too. It just stares Isaac down. The rabbit seems visibly upset by Isaac going to sleep, and I guess to spite him, it starts playing the drums. Isaac wakes up, looks at the rabbit, and then says, you know what, fuck it, and goes back to sleep. The rabbit is like, wake up, bitch, and starts playing again. And you're getting paid for being here. Stop sleeping. The rabbit keeps playing the drums, and the music gets more and more intense, and then something insane happens. Like, you won't believe it. This is some scary shit I was waiting for. I lied. Nothing happens. But that was annoying, wasn't it? You thought that I actually had something scary to say if you hadn't seen the movie. That's how I felt when the movie kept teasing me for no reason whatsoever. Isaac just looks into the camera. He literally turns around and looks into the camera. He too seems surprised. Nothing really happened, and the suspense was basically just suspense. He then goes downstairs and finds a flashlight and looks into the hole that Olga had cut earlier in the beginning of the movie, and he finds the mother's dead body in the basement, basically. And note that her body hasn't decayed, not a single bit, which probably means she's a witch, but yeah. Wait, so you're telling me when Olga found the body, she was like super calm? She wasn't freaking out? Yes, she was. Isaac decides nope, and goes upstairs to use the phone. He figures out how, but if you're Olga, you're not gonna like it. What he does is he finds a hole in the wall that connects the desk inside Olga's room. Okay, sure. But I mean, Olga already had a horrible childhood, lots of psychological issues. She's carrying a photo of her dad and uncle on a hunting trip. So things are clearly not going well for her. And she's sitting at her bed, eyes covered, because she's afraid. But through her fingers, possibly, she sees this. An arm reaching through the wall, grabbing the phone. That's the type of shit she's had to put up with her entire life. No wonder she's carrying a fucking crossbow walking inside the house. But anyway, this is where the movie turned tables again. The tables turn. Isaac calls the uncle and tells him about the dead body. Mo says that he'll figure something out. Isaac then locks Olga in her room, which honestly took him long enough. If I saw someone covering their face like that, I'd immediately be like, yeah, no, that's a lock the door for me. Don't even need to second guess that. Like, I ain't messing with whatever that is. But then Olga connects to the intercom, and this time she sounds normal. She's pretty chill. And okay, I get it now. The weird noises earlier on the intercom were probably the dead mother. Don't ask me how I know. I just assume. And that's what happens when a horror movie chooses to be as vague as caveat. You just have to assume most of the time. Anyway, she tells Isaac that she didn't kill her mother, that it was her uncle and dad. Oh shit, what do you do? Well, I'll tell you what I would have done. I would have gone to that glory hole in Olga's room, tried to reach the keys, use the phone as an extension to my arm if I have to, unlock myself and get to swimming. Yes, swimming. Better than being between a batshit crazy girl and a psychopathic uncle. It didn't even seem like that long of a boat ride. I think while the initial water splash would be a very, very cold experience, and I already despise the thought of it, I think it's still better than dying next to a wicked witch. Isaac's plan, however, is a bit different, and spoilers, his plan sucks. At first, he goes to talk to Olga and tells her to call the police so they can get out of there. Before he enters her room, he makes sure that Olga leaves the crossbow in front of the door. But for some reason, Olga is being super weird, and she starts staring behind Isaac long enough for him to think, okay, she looked there for so long, there must be something or someone there. And he starts staring at the lamp behind him in the hallway for like minutes. It's just 10 seconds movie time, but 10 seconds movie time is a long time to be staring at somewhere, man. And he just like keeps asking, who's there? Then Olga reappears in a red leather jacket. Okay, wait, I gotta do this right now. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Not bad. Turns out this jacket belonged to Isaac's brother, or well, he says that his brother had the exact same jacket. She claims that Isaac had brought it there a year ago. Another twist. Isaac doesn't remember this, and who could blame him? He doesn't even remember how to use sheets. This sequence honestly feels insanely strange. And I don't know, there's just so much talk. I got bored a few times and wasn't sure where the direction was headed. Like, why do they decide to call the uncle again? Like, didn't they establish that he's a killer and they wanted to get away from him? They just start chatting with him, even though minutes ago they said he killed the mother, with the help of the father. Anyway, so Mo says on the phone that Isaac was indeed sent there to do a job of locking the father into the basement. Isaac can't believe it. He goes on to say that, if I die here, if I don't go back. And Olga's like, does anyone know you're here? He's like, shit. She called my bluff. And suddenly he freaks out, runs to the basement, and decides to remove the chains by pulling on them. That was his plan. Yeah, pulling on the metal chains to unlock himself. Granted, the running away came several hours too late. I would have done that the moment Mo said, yeah, well, we're gonna go on a boat ride. And I don't get why he didn't just pick up the crossbow that he made Olga put in front of the door before unlocking it. Now, by the time Isaac thinks of my plan, my initial plan of reaching the keys, Olga is ready. So when he does try to reach the key through that hole, she just grabs his hand and dislocates a finger without batting an eye. Told you. Batshit crazy. I did initially struggle to understand why she was trying to kill him. And I'll be honest, I still don't fully understand. I guess it's because she thinks he locked his father downstairs, evidently killing him. But wasn't she upset with her own father and uncle with the whole mommy situation? Olga's motivation just doesn't feel sincere or even necessary. It feels a bit, it seems to serve the plot. That's it. Isaac, with a broken finger, goes to the kitchen where he's really upset about his broken finger. He's almost about to cry. And then he realizes this old newspaper on the desk. He sees the dead mom, going missing. And he realizes that she's got a key on her neck. Wow. And he forgets about the finger pain. It's all gone, I guess. Kind of makes sense if you think about adrenaline and stuff. He goes downstairs and grabs the key without hesitation. He unlocks himself and you can hear like a euphoric music playing, almost as though we're also losing our harnesses. But exactly in that moment, when he unlocks himself, the lights go off and he starts hearing the most messed up, creepy noises, like a woman crying almost, but in a very disturbing way. These noises, they don't make sense. They're not fox screams because they're distinctly different. So what are they? Is it some evil spirit, some dark energy? We still don't know. Nothing has been explained to us. Nothing has been given. We can only speculate. But even with speculation, I have no idea what those noises were. Anyway, he goes outside, sees how dark and windy it is, and goes back in. Now, I, on the other hand, I would have continued walking with my flashlight. I don't care how dark or rainy or cold it is. I'm not walking back into that house. And if I'm being honest, I don't think anyone would have walked back into that house. But, well, Isaac does. Because, again, weird things. He finds Olga in the kitchen, hands covered on her face again, and actually goes back to the basement. He goes back to where he heard those super disturbing, weird noises. And he knows that there's a dead body there. He just goes to grab the harness to put on Olga. Then he goes to her room because he thinks, well, she can't get me here. And sadly, he still doesn't know how to use a blanket or a sheet, so he pulls the jacket on him to try and get some sleep. And we can see him visibly shivering and freezing his ass. He later wakes up, goes to the bathroom, kind of looks in the mirror. And when he's about to leave again, Olga is at the doorway and shoots at him with the crossbow. But she misses by an inch. And he goes to check his head and he's like, whoa, I almost died. He doesn't freak out though. He just slowly closes the door. I don't know how long he stays there then, but could be minutes, hours. When he goes out of the bathroom again, Olga isn't there anymore. She's gone. And he goes to check on the phone again. Mind you, when he came back to the room, he already checked the phone and the cables and the lines were cut. I guess Olga must have done it. But once he leaves the bathroom, for whatever reason, he still goes to check the phone. What's he thinking? Maybe that the rabbit had come up and fixed it magically or something, I guess. Well, the rabbit hadn't done that. The rabbit only plays the drums. And he realizes that he messed up because he gets shot through the glory hole. That's not what you want to hear usually when you talk about the glory hole. Olga shoots him right in the leg. He then crawls back into the, back room, the bathroom place. And Olga just looks at him menacingly in the darkness. Here is the problem. Isaac starts remembering what had really happened last year. Why is this a problem? Well, because the last minutes of the movie are focused on those scenes. So they're not really scary, just tragic memories. The thing is, he remembers going there, to that abandoned house in the island, and he's there to warn the father about Mo. He just enters the house, nobody opens the door, it's just open already, and he writes on a parchment of paper, "Mo wants you dead." Right? Then he hears some weird laughter and goes to the basement to check it out. The basement was already locked though when he arrived. And downstairs he finds the father who's practically dying. Next thing, he's sprinting away from the house. He's like, nope, fuck that. Later on, he gets a visit from Mo, and Isaac is freaking out, telling Mo he didn't really lock the door, he didn't do anything. He doesn't accept the money that Mo offers him. Mo seems unhappy. He doesn't trust Isaac. So he says that he'll come back in the morning after Isaac has some sleep, and they'll go through this again. Wait, so he's leaving, but he'll be back. And they'll talk about the same thing. Again, no human would ever say or suggest that. Like, anything remotely like that, that's crazy. If something like that happens, you should call the president and let them know that you saw an alien. I don't know. I just feel like, let's make up a scenario. This definitely didn't happen, by the way. Let's say my wife came to me and said, you're going to return the PS5 because you already have a PC. And then we have a long talk about our relationship and money management. And I end up saying, what kind of a person would make their husband return their PS5? And then she says, go get some sleep. We're going to go through this again in the morning. Ew. There's no way I'm sleeping that night. Talk about the same shitty thing that both parties clearly hated again in the morning? Anyone who thinks that's okay has got to be an alien, period. And sure enough, turns out Mo hadn't left and did a number on Isaac. I don't know what he did exactly to, make him forget the certain period. Maybe he showed him a flashlight. Maybe he gave him a pill called Forget Me Now. Thanks, Job. But he also gave him an insane makeover because, wow, that beard is pretty majestic, man. I can't stop looking at it. Honestly, if he's gonna give me a beard like that, I'd let Mo knock the shit out of me too. Okay, so Isaac gets shot in the leg with a crossbow and starts crawling out of his room into the bathroom again. Some sort of trapdoor appears later on. It just kind of opens on its own. And Isaac, without questioning, he just enters it. I don't know if he ever did like cave diving or spelunking or whatever. I would have at least shined some light in there, before I do anything like entering it. Because there is a crazy girl with a crossbow roaming around the house. What if it was her that opened it? What if she was about to shoot you? Anyway, he's just, yep, that's a nice looking dark hole. I should go through there. And for some reason, he sees a random corpse face appear, like as he was crawling there, which was a jump scare, obviously. It must be the mother in the basement, right? Or at least I think it was. It could be a random ghost, who knows? But what was that about? Is she wandering around the house? Is this guy just so tired that he imagined it? Why do we see her now, and why is she trying to scare him? No idea, no reason. Literally a dumb little jump scare thrown in there. Nothing more. And that's so annoying. I can't do it. He ends up in the basement where the corpse is located at. Even though his leg was in pain, he's somehow able to climb down a ladder, whatever. And he's in this cardboard box-like thing, right? He finds a chainsaw knife-ish and starts cutting through it. That's his new escape route, I guess. During this time, the corpse kind of changes facial expressions. Or is she? I don't know. But Isaac keeps looking at her, and it feels like she's definitely shifting. Now, I don't know if he's trying to respect that body or anything, but no way would I just try to cut something while a witch is smiling at me on the side. Like, I'm definitely laying that thing face down, by the way. No, wait, that came out wrong. Not in a sexual way, just put it down so it doesn't stare right at me. I mean, he does eventually cover her face with his beanie, but that only makes it worse. I really think he should have just laid it flat on the ground, man. Just tip the body over just to make sure it's limp, just that it's not alive or whatever. But then it starts peeking through his beanie with one eye. And Isaac is not screaming his lungs out, which was hands down the most unrealistic scene of the movie. And he just continues to cut the thing. Really? That doesn't bother you at all? Okay, now you're just pissing me off, Isaac. People like you, they're like, oh, I got a cool beard. Nothing bad could ever happen to me. I'm blessed. Well, good for you, man. No way in hell do I not kick that bitch, sorry, witch, in the face in that moment, by the way. Like, no way. Anyway, the rabbit does start playing his drums again. It was in the basement. They left it there, indicating some evil presence, I guess. Nope, it was just playing to greet Olga, who starts walking downstairs. Mo later on arrives, confronts Olga in the basement, telling her how she ruined everything. And you can be angry at someone all you want, but yelling at a person that just reloaded their crossbow, that takes some balls, and Mo's got plenty. But also, that's just lack of survival instinct right there, man. And of course, Mo gets shot in the back. Olga is calm as ever. She walks upstairs and locks the door. Mo tells Isaac to come out because he's seen him hide behind that cardboard thingy with the flashlight. He says that, they can wait for Olga to come back and do a surprise attack. Clearly, still lacking survival instinct, considering she has a crossbow. But, Mo is a tricky guy. He's readying some sort of weapon to hit Isaac with when he comes out. No idea why. Weird. I guess he thinks that he can just maybe knock the shit out of him and then convince his niece to forgive him or to let him out or whatever. Anyway, Isaac is like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? And, the chainsaw thingy starts moving again. It appears that Isaac is trying to get out. The twist is, we hear Isaac on the intercom. Now, Isaac, even though seconds ago, literally when Mo was talking, he was still in that hole. Now he's suddenly magically out. I don't know how. He was barely able to move due to his leg injury, but then he crawled out of there like in seconds and lets Mo know via the intercom. He says that he'll send someone to get him. What does he mean by that? Are they friends now? No idea. I thought, he was trying to get away from them. The twist is that Isaac wasn't the one moving the saw. It was allegedly the dead body. Cool, I guess. So did Isaac know that the, woman was alive, but he was just cool with it? Because, well, he knew he didn't do anything bad, so the witch or the body wouldn't harm him. Why did the witch try to scare him then? And was it just a random, hey, here, this way? Maybe it was trying to show him the way, but it was clearly trying to scare him, no? Why did the witch not try to kill him too, though? It makes no sense considering in most horror movies, and even in, culture, witches don't care if you're a good or a bad person. They just like to make people suffer. Also, hate to be that guy, but the rabbit was super underwhelming. Like it was this useless, overhyped thing in the whole movie. Just like Clayman was in Oddity. I don't know, maybe it's me that's overhyping it. Maybe I shouldn't expect them to do crazy things, but I do. I see them and I think, wow, this is gonna be intense, and it never is. I get that horror has to have some human elements, sadness, drama, or trauma, or whatever, like it had in Hereditary, right? But I mean, don't show me a rabbit doing crazy drum solos in the darkness like it knows something, and then just forget about it completely to focus solely on the sad part of the movie, man. Please, none of the rabbit warnings ever paid off in this movie, ever. I just think it was playing the drums randomly or when it wanted to mess with Isaac. I really do. The movie literally ends like a Beyond Belief episode, the one Jonathan Frakes used to host. Basically, you've got a creepy story. It can either be fact or fiction, and almost always some evildoer gets what they deserve by some holy justice or a vengeful ghost or spirit or something. So it felt a bit cheesy in the end, not gonna lie. And Isaac, he has a dog now. Though a very creeping looking one if you ask me. Also something that he will remember his trauma by forever. He probably goes home after this, takes a shower, goes on Reddit, let's not meet, and posts something like, babysitting job that ended up in me wearing a chained vest. But now I have a dog, or something. Now that should get him some karma, or he could just post his beard in some beard subreddit and go from there, in my opinion. Overall, this wasn't a scary movie, not even remotely. A little disturbing at times and even creepy. Beautiful, sound management that kind of built suspense. But the suspense was always just no reason for it to be there. It was just building something, and then it was like, imagine you're listening to some music and the beat never drops. That's how I felt. I felt blue-balled into horror, sort of. Like, I watched this movie, and because it didn't scare me, I had to go watch a more scary movie, maybe a real horror movie, so that my blue ball of horror would pass. I still have some expectations of Hokum, but simply by having seen the 2 movies of this director already, I don't think it will be that scary, honestly. I feel like it's gonna have a lot of scary elements and creepy items with lots of potential again, but revolve mostly around human nature and sad things, and the scary things will just be, oh yeah, they were there, but never really used or explained, and it'll all just be vague stuff. Just like it was with the clay monster or the drummer rabbit. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought of the movie. And you just watched Fax Machine 9000. Thank you so much. Beep boop bop bop beep.